The train lurched through a blinding December snowstorm, and Amelia Barrett held her daughter closer, feeling the child's burning forehead against her neck as she prayed they would reach Colfax, New Mexico territory, before Lucy's fever consumed her completely. The year was 1883, and Amelia had left everything behind in Philadelphia 3 weeks ago, answering an advertisement from a rancher named Thomas Whitfield, who needed a wife and had promised a good home. She had been a widow for 2 years, and with Lucy growing weaker each month from an illness the city doctors could not cure, Amelia had hoped the dry western air might help. Now, as the child trembled in her arms, she wondered if she had made a terrible mistake. "Mama," Lucy whispered, her voice barely audible over the train's rattling, "I am so cold." "I know, sweetheart. We are almost there." Amelia pulled her threadbare shawl tighter around them both, though she knew it would do little good. The fever made Lucy feel cold even as her skin burned hot enough to scorch. The other passengers had moved away from them hours ago, fearful of contagion. Only one man remained nearby, a tall figure in a long coat who had been reading a medical journal since they left Santa Fe. Amelia had noticed the black leather bag at his feet and wondered if he might be a physician, but pride and fear had kept her from asking. What if he confirmed her worst fears about Lucy's condition? The train whistle screamed through the storm, and the conductor stumbled through the car, brushing snow from his uniform. "Colfax in 10 minutes, folks. Merry Christmas Eve to you all." Christmas Eve. Amelia had forgotten. Last year, Lucy had been well enough to help decorate their tiny apartment with paper chains. This year, her daughter could barely lift her head. The man with the medical journal looked up, his gray eyes meeting Amelia's across the aisle. He had a strong face, weathered by sun and wind, with dark hair touched with silver at the temples, though he could not have been more than 35. "Your daughter is ill." It was not a question. Amelia nodded, her throat tight. "Yes. How long has she had the fever?" 3 days. "It started just after we left Kansas City." He stood, picking up his bag, and crossed to her seat. "May I examine her?" Amelia hesitated only a moment before nodding again. The man's eyes were kind, and there was something about his quiet confidence that made her trust him. He knelt beside them, placing one hand gently on Lucy's forehead, then checking her pulse at her thin wrist. "I am Dr. Russell Quinn. I have been practicing medicine in Colfax for 8 years. This child needs immediate care." "I know," Amelia whispered, "but I have no money for a doctor. I used everything I had for the train tickets." Russell Quinn looked at her steadily. "I did not ask about payment. I asked about treating your daughter. What is your name?" "Amelia Barrett. This is Lucy. She is 6 years old." "And what brings you to Colfax, Miss Barrett?" "Mrs." Amelia corrected softly. "I am a widow. I am coming to marry Thomas Whitfield. He has a ranch outside town." Something flickered in Russell's eyes, too quick for her to read. "Whitfield, I see." He turned his attention back to Lucy, opening his bag and removing a stethoscope. "Lucy, can you hear me?" The child's eyes fluttered open. They were glassy with fever, the same blue as Amelia's. "Yes, sir. I am a doctor, and I am going to help you feel better. Is that all right?" Lucy nodded weakly. Russell listened to her chest, his expression growing more serious. When he finished, he looked at Amelia. "Your daughter has pneumonia. Without proper treatment, she could die within days." The words hit Amelia like a physical blow. She had known Lucy was desperately ill, but hearing it spoken so plainly made her vision swim. "What can be done?" "She needs warmth, rest, and constant care. Steam treatments to help her breathe. Medicine to bring down the fever. I have what she needs at my clinic, but she should not be moved any more than necessary once we arrive." He paused. "Is Whitfield expecting you on the evening train?" "Yes." He said he would meet us at the station. Russell's jaw tightened. Thomas Whitfield is not a patient man, and he has no tolerance for sickness. He lost his first wife to consumption and has a terror of disease. Amelia felt panic rising in her chest. But I have nowhere else to go. Everything I own is in these 2 bags. I have no money, no family. He has been sending me letters for months. We have an agreement. An agreement he will not honor if he sees your daughter like this. Russell spoke bluntly but not unkindly. I know the man. He will turn you away, and you will be stranded in a strange town on Christmas Eve with a dying child. Tears burned Amelia's eyes, but she blinked them back fiercely. She had cried enough these past 2 years. Then what am I to do? The train began to slow, the brakes squealing. Through the frost-covered windows, Amelia could see the dim lights of Colfax emerging from the storm. Russell Quinn studied her for a long moment, then made a decision. You will come with me. My clinic has rooms upstairs where I live. You and Lucy can stay there while I treat her. Once she is well, we can determine what to do about Whitfield. I cannot accept such charity, Dr. Quinn. It is not charity, it is medicine. He met her eyes. I took an oath to heal the sick. Your daughter is sick. Let me help her. The train shuddered to a stop, and through the window, Amelia saw a stocky man in an expensive coat standing on the platform, looking impatiently at each car. Even from a distance, she could see the hardness in his face. Thomas Whitfield. She looked down at Lucy, so small and fragile in her arms, and knew she had no choice. All right, thank you, Dr. Quinn. Russell, he said, and we must move quickly before Whitfield sees you. He gathered Amelia's 2 worn carpetbags with one hand and helped her to her feet with the other. Lucy whimpered as the movement jostled her, and Russell immediately took the child from Amelia's arms, wrapping his coat around the small body. Stay close to me, he instructed. They exited from the rear of the car, Russell leading Amelia down the steps and away from the platform where Whitfield waited. The storm had intensified, snow swirling thick enough to hide them as they hurried across the tracks toward the darkened main street of Colfax. Amelia's shoes slipped on the icy ground, and Russell steadied her with his free arm. My clinic is just ahead. Can you manage? Yes, she said, though her lungs burned from the cold and her legs shook with exhaustion. She had been traveling for weeks, rationing food to save money, sleeping upright on hard benches. But she would not falter now, not when Lucy needed her. The clinic was a sturdy wooden building with a painted sign above the door. Russell Quinn, M.D. Russell fumbled with his keys, then pushed the door open and ushered them inside. The interior was dark and smelled of carbolic soap and dried herbs. He struck a match and lit a lamp, and warm light filled a tidy waiting room with chairs along one wall and a desk covered in papers. Upstairs, Russell said, heading for a narrow staircase at the back. Amelia followed, her legs trembling as she climbed. The upper floor contained 3 rooms, a sitting area with a stove, a kitchen, and a bedroom. Everything was neat but sparse, clearly the home of a man who lived alone and spent little time on domestic comforts. Russell carried Lucy into the bedroom and laid her gently on the bed. Start the stove and put water on to boil. We need steam. There is wood already laid. Amelia hurried to obey, grateful to have a task. Her hands shook as she struck matches and fed kindling to the cast iron stove in the sitting room. Behind her, she could hear Russell's low voice as he spoke to Lucy, gentle and reassuring. The fire caught, and soon the stove was radiating blessed heat. Amelia found a large pot in the tiny kitchen, filled it with water from a pitcher, and set it to boil. Then she returned to the bedroom doorway and watched as Russell worked. He had removed Lucy's damp coat and dress and wrapped her in clean blankets. Now he was mixing something in a glass, his movements precise and practiced. "Willow bark tea with honey," he explained without looking up. "For the fever, can you sit her up?" Amelia moved to the bed and carefully lifted Lucy's shoulders, supporting her daughter's weight. Russell held the glass to the child's lips, coaxing her to drink. Lucy managed a few swallows before turning her head away. "That is enough for now," Russell said. "We will try more in an hour." He felt Lucy's forehead again, his expression grave. "The fever is very high. We need to bring it down gradually. Cold compresses on her wrists and forehead, and the steam treatment." For the next 3 hours they worked together in a rhythm that felt strangely natural. Amelia fetched water and cloths, changed compresses, and held Lucy while Russell administered medicine and listened to her breathing. The child drifted in and out of consciousness, sometimes crying out in delirium, sometimes lying so still that Amelia's heart stopped until she saw the shallow rise and fall of her chest. Russell brought the pot of boiling water into the bedroom and created a makeshift tent over Lucy with blankets, allowing the steam to fill the enclosed space and ease her labored breathing. He showed Amelia how to add eucalyptus oil to the water and how to keep Lucy positioned so she would not choke if she coughed. As midnight approached, the fever finally began to break. Lucy's skin grew less scorching to the touch, and her breathing became slightly easier. She opened her eyes and looked at her mother with recognition for the first time in hours. "Mama, where are we?" "We are in Colfax, darling. This is Dr. Quinn. He is helping you get well." Lucy turned her head and studied Russell with solemn eyes. "You have kind hands, like Papa did." Something in Russell's expression softened. "Did your papa take care of you when you were sick?" "Yes. He died when I was 4. I remember his hands." "Then I am honored to have hands like his." Russell smiled at her, and Amelia felt something shift in her chest. She had expected competence from a doctor, perhaps even compassion, but there was something more in the way Russell looked at her daughter. Genuine care. "You should sleep now, Lucy," Russell said. "The medicine will help you rest, and in the morning you will feel much better." "Will you still be here?" Lucy asked, her eyelids already drooping. "I will. I live here, so I am not going anywhere." "Good." Lucy's eyes closed, and within moments her breathing had evened into sleep. Amelia remained sitting on the edge of the bed, afraid to move, afraid that if she did, Lucy might worsen again. Russell watched her for a moment, then gently touched her shoulder. "She will sleep for several hours now. You should rest as well. When did you last eat?" Amelia tried to remember and could not. "Yesterday, I think, on the train. Come." Russell took her arm and guided her to her feet. She swayed with exhaustion and hunger, and he steadied her. "I will make you something. You are no good to your daughter if you collapse." In the kitchen, Russell lit another lamp and rummaged through his cupboards. Amelia sank into a chair at the small table, her body suddenly too heavy to hold upright. Through the window, she could see the snow still falling, covering Colfax in white silence. Somewhere out there, Thomas Whitfield was probably angry that his mail-order bride had not appeared. The thought made her stomach clench with anxiety, but she was too tired to worry properly. Russell set a plate before her: bread, cheese, cold chicken, and an apple. Simple food, but to Amelia it looked like a feast. He poured coffee from a pot he had been keeping warm on the stove and sat down across from her. "Eat slowly," he advised. "Your stomach will rebel if you rush." Amelia forced herself to take small bites, though she wanted to devour everything at once. The food helped clear the fog from her mind, and she found herself studying her unexpected benefactor. Russell Quinn had rolled up his shirt sleeves, revealing strong forearms. His hair was mussed from running his hands through it, and there were lines of weariness around his eyes, but his movements remained steady and sure. He looked exactly like what he was, a man who dealt with emergencies and saved lives as a matter of course. "Why did you help us?" Amelia asked quietly. "You do not know us. I might never be able to pay you." Russell took a sip of his coffee, considering. "Do you know what tomorrow is? Christmas Day." "Yes. 8 years ago, on Christmas Day, I lost my wife and son. Margaret died in childbirth and the baby died with her. I was trained as a surgeon in Boston, but there was nothing I could do, not enough." He stared into his coffee cup. "I came west because I could not bear to stay in a place with so many memories. I thought the frontier might help me forget." "Did it?" Amelia asked softly. "No. But it gave me purpose. People here need doctors desperately. I can save lives here that would be lost otherwise." He looked up at her. "When I saw you on that train holding your sick daughter, I saw another chance, another life I might be able to save. So I suppose the real question is not why I helped you, but why would I not?" Amelia felt tears sting her eyes again. "You are a good man, Dr. Quinn." "Russell," he reminded her. "And I am simply a man who knows what it is like to lose everything." He paused. "Tell me about Lucy's father." So Amelia did. She told him about James Barrett, who had worked as a clerk in a shipping office and brought home flowers every week. About their small apartment in Philadelphia that always smelled of the bread she baked. About how James had been killed 2 years ago in an accident on the docks, crushed by falling cargo, and how the company had given her $20 and told her to vacate their company housing within a month. She told him about finding work as a seamstress, about the long hours that barely paid for food and rent, about watching Lucy grow thinner and paler as the Pennsylvania winters dragged on, about the advertisement she had seen for mail-order brides needed in the West, and how Thomas Whitfield's letters had promised stability and a home. "He never mentioned his fear of sickness," Amelia said. "He wrote about his ranch and his cattle and how he needed a woman to cook and keep house. He said he had room for children. I thought it would be a new beginning for Lucy and me." "Whitfield is not a cruel man, but he is selfish," Russell said. "His fear of disease is genuine, though. His wife suffered terribly before she died. He would not want that in his house again." "Then what am I to do?" Amelia set down her fork, no longer hungry. "I used every penny to come here. I have no way to return east, and even if I did, there is nothing to return to." Russell was quiet for a long moment. Outside, a church bell chimed midnight, the sound muffled by the snow. Christmas Day had arrived. "You will stay here," Russell said finally, "for as long as you need. Lucy requires weeks of treatment before she will be fully recovered. After that, we can determine what comes next. I cannot impose on you for weeks, Russell. It is too much. You need a place to stay. I have one. I need someone to help manage this household while I see patients. I am a terrible cook. The place is always in disorder, and I can never find anything when I need it. You would be doing me a service." Amelia studied his face, trying to determine if he was simply being kind or if he meant what he said. His expression was open, honest. "You truly would not mind?" "I would welcome the company. This place has been too quiet for too long." Russell stood and began clearing the dishes. "There is a second bedroom that I use for storage. Tomorrow I will clear it out and you can have a proper space for you and Lucy. Tonight you should sleep in my bed with her. I will take the sofa out here. I could not take your bed. You already have. It is decided." Russell gave her a slight smile, the first she had seen from him, and it transformed his serious face. "You are a stubborn woman, Amelia Barrett. I am a practical one. I do not accept charity lightly." "Good, neither do I, so we have an agreement. You will stay and help with the household while I treat Lucy." Amelia thought of the alternatives and knew there were none. But beyond that, something in her wanted to stay. She had felt more cared for in the past 3 hours with this quiet doctor than she had in the 2 years since James died. "We have an agreement." They finished cleaning the kitchen together, working in comfortable silence. Russell showed Amelia where things were kept and gave her a nightgown that had belonged to his wife, carefully preserved in a trunk. It was soft cotton, worn but clean, and it fit Amelia reasonably well. She checked on Lucy one more time. The child was sleeping peacefully, her forehead finally cool to the touch. Amelia whispered a prayer of thanks and climbed into bed beside her daughter, wrapping her arms around the small body. Through the open door, she could hear Russell moving around in the sitting room, banking the fire and settling onto the sofa. She heard him sigh, a sound of exhaustion, and wondered when he had last had a full night's sleep. Doctors were always being called out for emergencies. "Russell." She called softly. "Yes, Merry Christmas." There was a pause. "Merry Christmas, Amelia." She closed her eyes, feeling safer than she had in months, and let sleep take her. Morning came with pale sunlight streaming through the window. The storm had passed, leaving Colfax buried in snow that sparkled like diamonds. Amelia woke to the sound of someone moving in the kitchen and the smell of coffee. Lucy was still asleep, but her breathing was much easier and her color had improved. Amelia slipped out of bed and wrapped a shawl around her shoulders before venturing into the sitting room. Russell was at the stove, attempting to make breakfast. Attempting was the operative word. He had burned the bacon, and the eggs in the pan were a rubbery mess. He looked up as Amelia entered, sheepish. "I did warn you I was a terrible cook." Amelia could not help but laugh. "So I see. Move aside, doctor. Let me show you how it is done." She took over the kitchen, salvaging what she could and starting fresh. Soon, the smell of properly cooked bacon filled the rooms, along with fluffy eggs and toasted bread. Russell watched her work with something like amazement. "Where did you learn to cook so well?" "My mother was a cook in a wealthy home in Philadelphia. She taught me everything. After she died, I used those skills to help make ends meet when James's salary was not enough." Amelia plated the food and set it on the table. "Sit. You did not sleep enough last night, neither did you." "I am used to it. Mothers of sick children rarely sleep." They ate together, the morning light growing stronger. Lucy woke and called for her mother, and Amelia brought her tea and soft eggs. The child managed a few bites before tiring, but it was progress. Russell examined Lucy thoroughly, listening to her lungs and checking her temperature. "The crisis has passed," he announced, "but the pneumonia will take time to fully resolve. She needs rest, good food, and continued steam treatments. I want to see steady improvement over the next week." "You will have it," Amelia promised. The day unfolded with a quiet domesticity that felt almost dreamlike. Russell saw 2 patients who came to the clinic with minor ailments, while Amelia cleaned the upstairs rooms and cared for Lucy. She found the second bedroom stacked with medical books and supplies and began organizing them, creating space for a bed to be moved in. Russell returned upstairs in the afternoon, surprised at the transformation. "You have been busy. You said you could never find anything. Now you have a proper system. Medical books on that shelf organized by subject, bandages and supplies on the other, and the space is clear for Lucy and me to move in here." Russell looked around, impressed. "I should have hired help years ago." "You did not hire me. You rescued me." "Perhaps we rescued each other." That evening, as Amelia prepared dinner, there was a loud knock at the clinic door downstairs. Russell went to answer it, and Amelia heard a man's angry voice. "Is she here, Quinn?" The woman from the train. Thomas Whitfield had found them. Amelia's hands stilled on the potatoes she was peeling. She moved to the top of the stairs, listening. "I do not know what you mean, Whitfield." Russell's voice was calm. Do not play games with me. Half the town saw you taking a woman and child from the station last night. I was supposed to meet my bride on that train and she never appeared. Then I hear you are sheltering a woman and child. Is she here or not? There is a patient upstairs, yes, a child with pneumonia. And her mother, a widow named Amelia Barrett. Russell did not answer immediately. Amelia could picture him measuring his words. Miss Barrett is here, yes. The child is her daughter. Then send her down, we have business to discuss. Miss Barrett is caring for her sick daughter. She cannot see you now. She is my intended bride. We have a contract. You have an agreement based on certain assumptions. One of those assumptions was likely that she would arrive healthy and able to work. Her daughter is gravely ill. Are you prepared to take them into your home under these circumstances? Whitfield's voice dropped, but Amelia could still hear the edge in it. I will not have sickness in my house, Quinn. You know that. Then you have no claim on Amelia Barrett. She used my money for the train ticket. I paid her passage, did you? Russell's voice was mild. Or did you offer to reimburse her upon arrival? I have seen these arrangements before, Whitfield. The women always pay their own way and the men promise to repay them from the bride price. But you have not married her, so you owe her nothing and she owes you nothing. There was a long, tense silence. Then Whitfield said, You want her for yourself. That is what this is about. This is about a sick child and a woman with nowhere to go. If you are unwilling to honor your agreement, then leave them in peace. The town will hear about this, Quinn. You are harboring another man's intended bride. The town will hear that you turned away a widow and her dying child on Christmas Day. Which of us do you think will suffer more in the eyes of our neighbors? Whitfield cursed, a foul word that made Amelia flinch. Then she heard the door slam. She waited a moment before descending the stairs. Russell stood at the window, watching Whitfield stride away through the snow. He turned when he heard Amelia approach. I am sorry, she said. I have caused you trouble. Whitfield was trouble already. The man has enemies enough without my help. Russell ran a hand through his hair. But he was right about one thing. The town will talk. A single woman living in a bachelor's home, even with a sick child, will cause gossip. Amelia felt her stomach sink. Then I should go. Perhaps there is a boarding house that would take us on credit until I can find work. Colfax has one boarding house and the owner is friends with Whitfield. You would not be welcome. Russell was quiet for a moment, thinking. There is another solution, but you may not like it. What solution? We could marry. A marriage of convenience for appearance's sake and to give you legal protection. As my wife, you would be safe from Whitfield's claims and Lucy would have a secure home. Amelia stared at him, stunned. You would marry a woman you just met. I would marry a woman who needs help. We could have a practical arrangement. You would keep house and help with the clinic. I would provide for you and Lucy. After a suitable time, if you wish to leave, we could dissolve the marriage. But in the meantime, you would be safe. That is an extraordinary offer, Russell. It is a practical one. I need help managing this place and you need security. We would both benefit. He met her eyes. But I would not force such an arrangement on you. The choice is entirely yours. Amelia thought of Lucy upstairs, finally beginning to recover. She thought of the long struggle of the past 2 years, the constant fear and hunger and exhaustion. She thought of Thomas Whitfield's angry voice and the cold, uncertain future that awaited them without Russell's protection. And she thought of Russell himself, this quiet man who had asked nothing of her except to let him help, who had worked through the night to save her daughter, who offered marriage not out of lust or even love, but out of simple human decency. If we did this, Amelia said slowly, what would you expect of me? Beyond keeping house? Nothing. You would have your own room. Our arrangement would be in name only unless in time you wished otherwise. Russell's face was serious. "I am not looking to replace my late wife, Amelia. But I am lonely and this house is empty. If you and Lucy were here, it would be less so. That is enough for me." Amelia made her decision. "Then yes, I will marry you, Russell Quinn." They were married 2 days later by the Methodist minister, with his wife and the general store owner serving as witnesses. Amelia wore her best dress, carefully mended, and Russell put on a suit that smelled of mothballs. Lucy was too weak to attend, but she had given her blessing with a smile that lit her pale face. The ceremony was brief and businesslike. Russell placed a simple gold band on Amelia's finger, and she did the same for him. They signed the papers, and it was done. She was Mrs. Quinn now. The town gossips had a field day, of course. By the end of the week, everyone in Colfax knew that Dr. Quinn had taken a mail-order bride intended for Thomas Whitfield and married her himself. Some called it romantic. Others called it scandalous. Whitfield himself left town for his ranch and was not seen in Colfax for weeks. Amelia ignored the talk and focused on making Russell's house into a home. She cleaned every corner, organized the clinic, and cooked proper meals. Russell seemed amazed by the changes, frequently stopping in doorways to stare at curtains she had sewn or preserves she had put up. "Where did you find time to do all this?" he asked one evening, gesturing at a sitting room that now had cushions on the chairs and a runner on the table. "I managed while Lucy napped. She is sleeping better now, and that gives me hours to work." Amelia arranged a vase of dried flowers on the mantel. "Besides, it gives me something to do. I am not used to idleness." "You are certainly not idle." Russell settled into his chair by the fire, picking up a medical journal. "This house has not looked so fine since Margaret lived here." Amelia glanced at him, trying to read his tone. "Does it bother you, having reminders of her?" "No, Margaret would have liked you, I think. She believed homes should be warm and welcoming. You are making it that way again." He looked up from his journal. "How is Lucy this evening?" "Much stronger. She ate a full bowl of soup and asked for a story. I think she is truly on the mend." "Good. I will examine her in the morning, but I believe the pneumonia is resolving well. She is a resilient child. She has had to be." Amelia sat in the chair opposite Russell, picking up mending. These past 2 years have been hard on her. They fell into companionable silence, each occupied with their tasks. The fire crackled, and outside the January wind howled. But inside Russell's house, all was warm and peaceful. The days turned into weeks, and a routine emerged. Russell saw patients in the clinic each morning while Amelia managed the household and cared for Lucy. In the afternoons, if there were no emergencies, Russell would come upstairs and they would talk over coffee. He told her about his cases, and she told him about her day. Sometimes Lucy would join them, growing stronger each day, and Russell would let her listen to his heartbeat through the stethoscope or look at medical illustrations in his books. One afternoon in late January, Lucy announced, "I want to be a doctor when I grow up." Russell smiled at her. "Do you?" "That is an ambitious goal. You help people feel better. I want to do that too." "Then I will teach you," Russell said seriously. "There are not many women doctors, but that does not mean you cannot become one if you work hard enough." Lucy beamed, and Amelia felt her heart swell with gratitude for this man who took her daughter's dreams seriously. That night, after Lucy was asleep, Amelia found Russell in his small study, going over accounts. She hesitated in the doorway, then entered. "Is something wrong?" Russell asked, setting down his pen. "No, I wanted to thank you for what you said to Lucy today about her becoming a doctor. I meant it. She is bright and curious. If she wants to study medicine, I will help her. You have done so much for us already." Amelia sat in the chair beside his desk. "I do not know how to repay you. You repay me every day. This house is a home again. I come upstairs and there is warmth and life. You cannot know what that means after years of emptiness." They looked at each other and something passed between them. Not love yet, but the possibility of it. A recognition that what had begun as a practical arrangement was becoming something more. Russell reached out and took Amelia's hand. "I know our marriage began as a convenience, but I find myself grateful for your presence in ways I did not anticipate. You have made me remember what it is like to live rather than simply exist." Amelia's breath caught. "I feel the same. When James died, I thought that part of my life was over, but you have reminded me that there can be new beginnings." "Amelia, I do not want to rush you, but I would like permission to court you properly. We are married, yes, but we hardly know each other. I would like to change that. Court me. We are already married, which makes it complicated, I admit." Russell smiled slightly. "But I would like to court you nonetheless. To learn your favorite things, to make you laugh, to see if what I feel growing between us is real." Amelia felt warmth spread through her chest. "What do you feel growing between us?" "Affection, respect, the beginnings of something deeper, perhaps." He squeezed her hand gently. "But only if you feel it too. I will not impose on you." "I feel it," Amelia admitted softly. "I have been trying not to because it seemed too soon. But yes, Russell, I feel it." They sat together in the quiet study, hands joined, and let themselves imagine what might be possible. Russell proved to be an attentive suitor despite their unusual circumstances. He brought Amelia small gifts: a book of poetry from the general store, a hair comb carved from bone, a shawl in her favorite shade of blue. He asked about her childhood, her dreams, her memories of James. He shared his own history. Growing up in Boston as the son of a banker who disapproved of his medical ambitions, his years at Harvard Medical School, his young love with Margaret. "I thought I would die when I lost her," Russell said one evening as they walked through town together, Lucy holding both their hands. "I wanted to. For months I barely functioned. Then an old classmate wrote to me about opportunities out west, and I decided to come here. I told myself it was for a fresh start, but really I was running away." "There is no shame in that," Amelia said. "Sometimes we must run away to survive. Did you run away by coming here, in a way? Philadelphia held too many memories. Everywhere I looked I saw James. I thought a new place might help Lucy get well, but I also hoped it might help me heal." She glanced at him. "I did not expect to find what I found. Neither did I." They had reached the edge of town where the prairie stretched endlessly in all directions. The sun was setting, painting the snow gold and pink. Lucy ran ahead a little, laughing as she threw snowballs at nothing. "She looks so much better," Russell observed. "A month ago I was not sure she would survive. Now look at her. You saved her life. We saved her life. You fought for her just as hard as I did." Russell turned to face Amelia. "You are a remarkable woman, Amelia Quinn." The name still sounded strange to Amelia's ears, but she liked it. "I am just a mother doing what mothers do. You are more than that. You are strong and resourceful and kind. I am fortunate to have you as my wife. Even though you did not choose me, even though I was meant for another man, especially because of that. If you had married Whitfield, I would never have known you. I would still be rattling around that empty house, half alive." Russell took both her hands in his. "I do not believe in fate, but I believe we found each other for a reason." Amelia felt tears prick her eyes. "I am starting to believe that too." Russell leaned down slowly, giving her time to pull away. She did not. His lips met hers in a gentle kiss there first. It was tender and careful, a promise of more to come. Lucy's voice rang out across the snow. "Are you kissing? Mama, are you kissing Russell?" They broke apart, laughing. Amelia called back, "Perhaps a little." Lucy ran toward them, grinning. "Good." That means he is really my papa now, right? Russell looked at Amelia, a question in his eyes. She nodded and he turned to Lucy. If you would like me to be, then yes. Lucy threw herself at Russell, wrapping her arms around his waist. I would like that very much. Russell picked her up, holding her close, and Amelia saw his eyes were bright with tears. Her own vision blurred as she watched this good man embrace her daughter, and she knew with certainty that she was falling in love with her husband. February brought a cold snap that froze the water in the pitchers and made the windows frost in intricate patterns. Russell was called out frequently to tend to patients with frostbite and winter fevers. Amelia would wait up for him, keeping the stove hot and coffee ready, no matter how late he returned. One night he came home near dawn, exhausted and covered in snow. "The Jensen baby has croup," he said, stripping off his frozen coat. "I stayed with them all night. The child will live, but it was close." Amelia helped him into dry clothes and sat him by the fire with hot coffee. "You need to sleep. I need to see patients at 9. You need to sleep," Amelia repeated firmly. "I will manage the clinic this morning. Anyone with an emergency can wait, and anyone else can come back in the afternoon." "Amelia, I cannot ask you to do that." "You are not asking, I am telling you." She pushed him gently toward the bedroom. "Sleep, Russell. I will wake you if there is a true crisis." He was too tired to argue. Within minutes, he was asleep, still in his clothes, sprawled across the bed. Amelia covered him with quilts and went downstairs to the clinic. Several patients came that morning. Amelia was not a doctor, but she had learned enough from watching Russell to handle minor complaints. She cleaned and bandaged a cut, recommended rest for a man with a headache, and gave willow bark tea to a woman with joint pain. For anything more serious, she promised the doctor would see them that afternoon. Russell woke near noon, disoriented and apologetic. "Why did you let me sleep so long?" "Because you needed it. I managed the clinic." "You did what?" He rushed downstairs and found everything in order. The waiting room was clean, and Amelia had left detailed notes about each patient who had come. Russell read them, shaking his head in amazement. "You did all this?" "It was not difficult. You have taught me well." "Amelia, you cannot practice medicine without training." "I was not practicing medicine. I was providing basic care and documenting symptoms. Very different things." She smiled at his worried expression. "No one died, Russell. In fact, several people complimented me on my bedside manner." He laughed despite himself. "I suppose I should be grateful to have such a capable wife." "You suppose correctly." From that day on, Amelia became more involved in the clinic. She learned to prepare common medicines, to sterilize instruments, and to assist with minor procedures. Russell taught her anatomy and physiology, and she proved an eager student. Lucy often watched their lessons, absorbing information like a sponge. "You have a medical family now," the general store owner remarked one day when Amelia came to buy supplies. "First the doctor marries you, then turns you into a nurse. Next, your daughter will be delivering babies." Amelia just smiled. She did not mind the talk anymore. Let people say what they wanted. She was happy, and that was what mattered. Spring came slowly to New Mexico territory, the snow melting in patches to reveal brown grass and mud. As the weather warmed, Russell took Amelia and Lucy on rides into the countryside in his buggy. They would pack a lunch and spend afternoons exploring the landscape, Lucy collecting interesting rocks while Amelia and Russell talked for hours. On one such outing in April, they stopped near a creek swollen with snowmelt. Lucy played at the water's edge while Amelia and Russell sat on a blanket beneath a cottonwood tree. "I have been thinking," Russell said, watching Lucy. "This summer, I would like to take you both to Santa Fe. There is a medical conference I should attend, and you could see the city." Lucy has never traveled for pleasure. That sounds wonderful, but can you afford to close the clinic? Dr. Hartley from Springer has offered to cover emergencies while I am gone. It would only be a week. Russell looked at her. We could have a proper honeymoon if you would like. We never had one. Amelia felt a flutter in her chest. Are you saying what I think you are saying? I am saying that our marriage has been in name only long enough. I love you, Amelia. I want you as my wife in every sense of the word, but only if you want that too. Amelia had known this moment was coming. Over the past 3 months, her feelings for Russell had deepened from gratitude to affection to love. She dreamed about him at night, woke thinking of him, found excuses to touch his hand or stand close to him. Their few kisses had left her wanting more. I love you too, she said. I did not mean to, but I do. You are everything James was not, steady where he was impulsive, calm where he was excitable. But you are also like him in the ways that matter. You are kind and good and devoted. I am lucky to have found love twice in one life. Russell cupped her face in his hands and kissed her, deep and slow. Amelia felt heat spread through her body, desire awakening after 2 years of dormancy. She pressed closer to him and his arms came around her, holding her tight. Mama, Russell, come see what I found. They broke apart, both breathless. Russell laughed quietly. That child has impeccable timing. She does, Amelia agreed, trying to compose herself. But Russell, yes, I would like a proper honeymoon. I would like us to truly be husband and wife. Then in June we will go to Santa Fe. And in the meantime, he kissed her again, quick and promising. In the meantime, perhaps we need not wait. That night, after Lucy was asleep, Russell came to Amelia's room. She had been preparing for bed, brushing her hair at the small mirror. She turned when she heard the door open and saw him standing there, lamplight behind him. May I come in? Yes. He closed the door softly and crossed to her. No words were needed. He took the brush from her hand and set it aside, then pulled her into his arms. They kissed again, deeper this time, and Amelia felt Russell's hands in her hair, at her waist, gentle but insistent. She led him to her bed, their bed now, and they undressed each other with fumbling hands and nervous laughter. Russell was careful with her, attentive to her needs, and when they finally came together, it felt like coming home. Afterward, they lay tangled in the sheets, Russell's head on Amelia's shoulder. I did not expect this when I helped a sick child and her mother off a train, he said. What did you expect? At most, a few weeks of housing a patient, at least to see them on their way after treatment. He raised his head to look at her. I did not expect to fall in love. I did not expect to find joy again, but you have given me both. You have given me a life when I had none. You have given Lucy a father and a future. Amelia traced her fingers through his hair. I never imagined I could be this happy again. They made love again as the moon rose higher, learning each other's bodies, finding rhythms and pleasure. By the time they fell asleep, wrapped in each other's arms, Amelia knew their marriage of convenience had become a marriage of love. The weeks that followed were blissful. Russell moved his things into Amelia's room, and they shared a bed every night. Lucy adjusted to the new arrangement with a child's easy acceptance, just happy that her mother was smiling again. The clinic thrived as more patients came, trusting the doctor and his capable wife. Money was not plentiful, but there was always enough. In early June, they made the trip to Santa Fe as planned. Dr. Hartley came to Colfax to cover emergencies, and Russell hired a driver with a comfortable carriage for the journey. Lucy was beside herself with excitement, asking 100 questions about what they would see. Santa Fe was unlike anything Amelia had experienced. The adobe buildings and Spanish influences were foreign to her Eastern sensibilities, but beautiful in their own way. They stayed at a modest hotel, and Russell attended his conference during the days while Amelia and Lucy explored the city. They visited the old plaza, watched artisans at work, and ate food flavored with chili peppers that made Lucy's eyes water. In the evenings, Russell took them to dinner at restaurants with fine tablecloths and wine. It was a luxury Amelia had never known, even with James. On their last night in Santa Fe, Russell arranged for Lucy to stay with the hotel owner's daughter, a girl near her age. Then he took Amelia to a cantina where musicians played guitars and couples danced. "I do not know how to dance like that," Amelia protested, as Russell pulled her to her feet. "Neither do I. We will learn together." They stumbled through the steps, laughing at their mistakes until they found a rhythm that worked. Amelia had not felt so free in years. She was 26 years old, in love with her husband, her daughter was healthy, and life stretched ahead with endless possibilities. "What are you thinking?" Russell asked, spinning her clumsily. "That I am happy, truly, completely happy." "Good, that is all I want for you." They danced until the musicians stopped playing, then walked back to the hotel through streets lit by paper lanterns. In their room, they made love with the window open, warm air carrying the scent of flowers and distant music. "I want this always," Amelia whispered afterward. "You, me, Lucy. Our life together." "You have it," Russell promised, "for as long as we live." They returned to Colfax in late June to find the town had not burned down in their absence. Dr. Hartley reported only minor incidents, and life resumed its normal pace. But Amelia noticed changes in herself. Her courses, always regular, did not come in July. By August, she was certain. She waited until evening when Lucy was in bed to tell Russell. He was reading in his chair by the fire, and she sat beside him, taking his hand. "Russell, I have news." He looked up, immediately attentive. "What is it?" "Are you well?" "Very well." "Russell, I am with child. We are going to have a baby." For a moment he just stared at her. Then tears filled his eyes. "Are you certain?" "As certain as I can be. I am 2 months along, I think." Russell set aside his book and pulled her into his lap, holding her tightly. She felt his shoulders shake and realized he was crying. "I thought I would never have this again," he said. "After Margaret and our son died, I thought that chance was gone forever. You have it now. We have it." They sat together, imagining their future child. Russell placed his hand on Amelia's stomach, where nothing showed yet but where life was growing. "Boy or girl, it does not matter. As long as you both are healthy, we will be, you will make sure of it. I will do everything in my power." Over the next months, Russell hovered over Amelia with the anxious attention only a doctor who had lost a wife in childbirth could manage. He monitored her health obsessively, insisted she rest more than necessary, and forbade her from lifting anything heavier than a teacup. Amelia tolerated it with amusement and occasional exasperation. "I am pregnant, not dying," she reminded him when he tried to stop her from washing dishes. "Humor me. I cannot lose you." "You will not lose me. I am healthy and strong, and this baby is growing well. I can feel it." Lucy was thrilled at the prospect of a sibling. She helped prepare the nursery, talking constantly to Amelia's growing belly. "Are you a boy or a girl?" she would ask. "Do you know how lucky you are? You have the best papa in the world." Autumn came with golden light and cooling temperatures. Amelia's pregnancy progressed without complications, much to Russell's relief. By November, she was large and uncomfortable, waddling more than walking, but healthy. They celebrated Thanksgiving quietly, just the 3 of them, with Lucy reading a story about the pilgrims that her teacher had assigned. Amelia cooked a turkey that Russell had traded for medical services, and they ate until they were stuffed. "Next year there will be 4 of us," Lucy said, looking at Amelia's belly. "Next year there will," Russell agreed. He raised his glass of cider. "To family, to blessings, to the future." They clinked glasses, and Amelia felt a wave of contentment so strong it almost hurt. A year ago, she had been on a train with a dying child and no prospects. Now she sat in a warm home with a husband who loved her, a healthy daughter, and a baby on the way. Life could change so quickly, for better or worse. She was grateful it had changed for the better. December arrived with the first snow. Amelia watched the flakes fall and remembered the storm a year ago, the desperate train ride, her fear that Lucy would die before they reached help. So much had changed in 12 months. "What are you thinking about?" Russell asked, coming to stand behind her at the window. He wrapped his arms around her as much as her belly would allow. "A year ago, the train, how frightened I was. I was frightened too that night. I thought Lucy might not survive. But she did, because of you, because of both of us. And because Lucy is a fighter." He kissed her temple. "I am glad you came to Colfax, Amelia. Glad that storm brought you to me." "So am I." Christmas approached, and Lucy insisted on decorating elaborately. She strung popcorn chains and cut paper snowflakes, transforming the house into a winter wonderland. Russell bought a small pine tree, and they decorated it with candles and tin ornaments. On Christmas Eve, exactly 1 year after Amelia and Lucy had arrived in Colfax, they attended services at the Methodist Church. The congregation sang carols, and the minister spoke about miracles and new beginnings. Amelia held Russell's hand and Lucy's, her unborn child moving beneath her heart, and felt blessed beyond measure. That night, after Lucy was asleep with dreams of presents dancing in her head, Amelia's labor began. It started as a backache that grew steadily worse. Russell recognized the signs immediately. "The baby is coming." "It is early," Amelia said, trying not to panic. 2 weeks early. Some babies come early. That does not mean anything is wrong." But Russell was already in doctor mode, gathering supplies, preparing the bedroom. "I want you to lie down. I will examine you." The labor progressed slowly through the night. Russell stayed with Amelia every moment, monitoring her progress, offering encouragement. Pain came in waves, intense and overwhelming, but Amelia focused on breathing through it. She had done this before with Lucy. She could do it again. By dawn on Christmas morning, the contractions were coming fast and hard. Russell checked her and announced, "It is time. You need to push, Amelia." She did, bearing down with all her strength. The pain was extraordinary, tearing through her, but Russell's voice guided her through it. "Good. That is good. Again. Push again." The effort seemed endless. Amelia lost track of time, focused only on the struggle to bring this new life into the world. Then suddenly, blessedly, she felt the baby slip free, and Russell was saying, "It is a boy. Amelia, we have a son." The baby's cry filled the room, strong and healthy. Russell cleaned the infant quickly and placed him on Amelia's chest. She looked down at the small, red, perfect face and felt love crash over her like a wave. "Hello, little one," she whispered. "Welcome to the world." Russell leaned over them both, his face wet with tears. "He is beautiful. You are beautiful. I love you so much." "I love you too." There was a knock at the bedroom door, tentative. Lucy's voice called, "Mama." "Is the baby here?" "Come in, sweetheart," Amelia said. Lucy entered, still in her nightgown, her eyes wide. She approached the bed slowly, staring at her new brother. "He is so small." "You were this small once," Russell said. "Would you like to meet him?" Lucy nodded. Russell helped her climb onto the bed carefully, and she looked at the baby with wonder. "What is his name?" Amelia and Russell had discussed names but had not decided. Now, looking at this child born on Christmas morning exactly a year after their lives had changed forever, Amelia knew. "Noel," she said. "His name is Noel James Quinn." Russell understood immediately. Noel for Christmas, James for her first husband. "It is perfect." They spent that Christmas morning in bed together, all four of them, a new family complete. Russell examined Amelia and pronounced her recovering well. Lucy held her brother with careful reverence. And Amelia looked around at these people who were her entire world and felt overwhelmed with gratitude. Later, when Lucy had been fed and sent to play with her Christmas presents and baby Noel was sleeping, Russell lay beside Amelia and took her hand. "Thank you," he said quietly. "For what?" "For giving me a second chance at happiness, for trusting me with your heart, for this beautiful child, for everything. I should be thanking you. You saved Lucy's life. You gave us a home when we had nothing. You loved me when I thought I would never be loved again." "I think we saved each other," Russell said. "You brought me back to life just as much as I healed Lucy. We were both broken and we made each other whole." Amelia could not argue with that. She laced her fingers through Russell's and watched their son sleep, this miracle born of love and second chances. The first months of Noel's life were exhausting and wonderful. He was a healthy baby with powerful lungs and his father's gray eyes. Lucy was a devoted big sister, always wanting to help feed or change him. Russell continued seeing patients but arranged his schedule to be home as much as possible. Winter gave way to spring, and Colfax bloomed with wildflowers. On a warm afternoon in May, Russell came upstairs with an unusual expression, somewhere between excitement and nervousness. "I received a letter today," he said, "from the territorial governor's office. They are looking for a doctor to serve in Santa Fe. The pay would be substantially more than I make here, and there would be opportunities to teach at the medical college." Amelia felt a jolt of surprise. "You want to leave Colfax? I do not know. It is an honor to be considered, but this is our home. Our life is here." He sat beside her. "What do you think?" Amelia thought about it seriously. Colfax had been good to them, but it was still a small frontier town with limited prospects. In Santa Fe, Lucy could attend better schools. Noel would grow up with more opportunities, and Russell could advance his career. "If you want to go, we should go," she said finally. "As long as we are together, anywhere can be home." They discussed it for weeks, weighing the advantages and disadvantages. Russell wrote back to Santa Fe asking detailed questions about the position. Meanwhile, word spread through Colfax that the doctor might be leaving, and there was an outcry. "You cannot go," the general store owner said. "You are the only doctor for 50 miles. What will we do?" "I have not decided yet," Russell said, but the weight of the town's need sat heavily on him. In the end, the decision was made for them. In early June, a telegram arrived from Boston. Russell's father had died, leaving him a substantial inheritance. Suddenly, money was not a concern. Russell could stay in Colfax without worrying about making ends meet, or he could move to Santa Fe purely for the opportunities it offered. "What do you want?" Amelia asked him. "Not what is practical or responsible. What do you truly want?" Russell thought for a long time. "I want to stay here. Colfax may be small, but these are my people. They trust me. They need me. And this house is where I found you. I cannot imagine leaving it." "Then we stay," Amelia said simply. They wrote to Santa Fe declining the position. The territorial governor was disappointed but understanding. Meanwhile, Russell used part of his inheritance to expand the clinic, adding a proper examination room and a small surgery. He also bought a larger house on the edge of town with a garden and room for the children to play. Lucy turned 8 that summer and started helping more in the clinic, learning to prepare medicines under her father's watchful eye. Noel grew from a baby into a toddler, running everywhere and getting into everything. The house was loud and chaotic and filled with love. One evening in late August, as the sun set in shades of orange and gold, Amelia stood in their new garden watching Russell play with the children. Lucy was teaching Noel to recognize different plants, her voice serious and instructive. Russell was nearby, ready to intervene if the toddler tried to eat anything poisonous. The sight filled Amelia with such fierce love that she had to close her eyes against the intensity of it. This was her family. This was her life. 2 years ago, she had been desperate and afraid, with no future except an uncertain marriage to a stranger. Now she had everything she had ever wanted and things she had never dreamed of. Russell looked up and caught her watching. He smiled, that transformation of his serious face that still made her heart skip, and beckoned her over. She joined them in the grass, and Lucy immediately started explaining the medicinal properties of sage to Noel, who was more interested in pulling up dandelions. "He is going to be a handful," Russell observed, rescuing the dandelions. "All children are handfuls," Amelia said. Lucy was too in her way. "I was very well behaved," Lucy said with dignity. Most of the time." "Most of the time," Amelia agreed, laughing. As darkness fell, they went inside, Russell carrying a sleepy Noel while Lucy held Amelia's hand. They got the children ready for bed, read stories, and tucked them in with kisses. Then Russell and Amelia retreated to their own room, finally alone. "You ever regret it?" Russell asked as they prepared for bed. "Marrying me instead of Whitfield, staying in this small town instead of going somewhere with more opportunities." "Never. Not once." Amelia came to him and wrapped her arms around his waist. "You gave me a life when I had none. You loved my daughter as your own. You gave me another child. This past year has been the happiest of my life. Mine too." Russell kissed her forehead, her cheeks, her lips. "I love you, Amelia Quinn." "I love you, Russell Quinn." They made love slowly, tenderly, with the ease of long familiarity and the passion of deep love. Afterward, lying in the darkness, Amelia thought about the journey that had brought her here, the loss of James, the illness that had nearly taken Lucy, the desperate train ride through a Christmas storm, the cowboy doctor who had healed them both and lost his heart in the process. "You believe in fate?" she asked Russell. "I thought I did not, but now I am not so sure. If I had not been on that train, if I had not seen you and Lucy, if the storm had not forced you to stay in Colfax, where would we be? Apart, living half lives." "Yes, so perhaps fate is real, or perhaps it is simply that we were lucky enough to find each other when we both needed saving." Russell pulled her closer. "Either way, I am grateful. So am I." The years passed peacefully in Colfax. Russell's practice thrived, and he became one of the most respected doctors in the territory. Amelia continued to work alongside him, learning so much that people started calling her Nurse Quinn. Lucy pursued her dream of becoming a doctor, studying with her father, and devouring every medical text she could find. Noel grew into a bright, energetic boy who preferred horses and ranching to medicine. When Noel was 3, Amelia discovered she was pregnant again. This time, Russell's anxiety was slightly less overwhelming, though he still fussed over her constantly. In January of 1887, she gave birth to a daughter they named Margaret after Russell's first wife. It was Amelia's idea, and Russell cried when she suggested it. "Are you sure?" he asked. "I do not want you to feel you are in her shadow." "I am not in her shadow. She was part of your life, and now this baby can honor that. Besides, Margaret is a beautiful name." Baby Margaret had her mother's blue eyes and her father's serious expression. She was a calm, peaceful child, the opposite of her rambunctious brother. Lucy doted on her, and Noel was protective of his baby sister in his own rough way. The house was full to bursting with life and noise and love. Some days, Amelia was so tired she could barely stand, but she would not have changed a thing. One morning, in December of 1888, Amelia woke to find snow falling outside the window. It was nearly Christmas, and Lucy was home from the boarding school in Santa Fe, where she had gone to continue her studies. She was 14 now, tall and serious, with her mother's beauty and her father's intelligence. She had already decided to apply to medical colleges back east, determined to become one of the few women doctors in the country. Noel, at 5, was campaigning hard for a pony for Christmas. Margaret was almost 2, toddling everywhere and trying to keep up with her brother. The house was decorated with greenery and candles, and Amelia was planning a large Christmas dinner for several families in town who had nowhere else to go. Russell came up behind her at the window and wrapped his arms around her waist. "What are you thinking about? 5 years ago, the train, how different everything is now. 5 years. Has it really been so long? It has. We have lived a whole life in that time." Russell turned her to face him. At 39, he had more gray in his hair, and there were lines around his eyes from squinting at patient charts. But to Amelia, he was more handsome than ever. "I have something for you," he said. "An early Christmas present." He handed her an envelope. Inside was a deed to the land surrounding their house. 20 acres of good pasture and fields, enough to start a small farm or ranch if they wanted. "I bought it from the land office last month. I thought Noel might like to have animals beyond chickens." "And you have always talked about wanting a larger garden." Amelia looked at the deed, then at Russell. "You did this for me. I did it for us, for our family. This is our land now, our home in every sense. No one can take it from us." She kissed him, long and deep, filled with gratitude and love. "Thank you for this, for everything, for 5 years of happiness. Only 5 years. I plan to give you at least 50 more. You had better." Christmas Day arrived with clear skies and bright sun. The house filled with guests, including several patients who had become friends. They ate turkey and ham, potatoes and pies, laughing and telling stories. Lucy entertained the younger children with magic tricks she had learned at school. Noel showed off his new pony, a gift Russell had secretly arranged. Margaret toddled from person to person, charming everyone with her smile. That evening, after the guests had left and the children were finally asleep, Amelia and Russell sat by the fire, exhausted but content. "Another Christmas," Amelia said. "Another year together. Many more to come," Russell promised. "I hope so. I want to see Lucy become a doctor. I want to see Noel grow up and decide what he wants to do. I want to watch Margaret discover who she will be. I want to grow old with you. You will have all of that. I promise you will." Russell took her hand. "We have built something good here, Amelia. A family, a life, a future. I could not have done it without you. We did it together. That is what marriage is, I think. 2 people building something neither could make alone." They sat in comfortable silence, watching the fire burn down to embers. Outside, snow began to fall again, soft and steady. Inside, the house was warm. The children were safe, and love filled every corner. Amelia thought back to that terrified woman on a train 5 years ago, holding a dying child and praying for a miracle. She had gotten her miracle, not in the way she expected, but in a way that was so much better. Russell had healed Lucy, yes, but he had also healed Amelia herself, mending her broken heart and giving her reasons to hope again. And in healing them, he had healed himself, moving from grief to joy, from isolation to family. "I love you," Amelia whispered. "I love you too," Russell replied. "Merry Christmas, my dear wife. Merry Christmas." The years continued to unfold with all the joys and challenges that life brings. Lucy graduated from medical school in 1895 at the age of 21, one of only a handful of women in her class. She returned to New Mexico Territory and opened a practice in Santa Fe, specializing in women's and children's health. Amelia and Russell could not have been prouder. Noel, as expected, had no interest in medicine. He loved horses and the land, and at 18, he started a small ranch on the 20 acres Russell had bought years earlier. He was good at it, breeding quality horses that sold well. In 1898, he married a local girl named Sarah, and they built a house on the property. Margaret, the baby, surprised everyone by developing a passion for teaching. She attended the territorial normal school and became a teacher in Colfax, educating the next generation of children. Russell and Amelia watched their children grow and thrive with satisfaction. They had done well. Their family was strong, their children were successful and happy, and the community they had built in Colfax was thriving. In 1900, as the new century dawned, Russell retired from active practice at 54, passing the clinic to a young doctor he had trained. He was not ready to stop completely, though. He continued to see a few patients and teach medical students who came to learn frontier medicine. Amelia retired as well, spending more time with her growing number of grandchildren. Lucy had married a fellow doctor and had 2 children. Noel and Sarah had 4. Margaret married a teacher from Santa Fe, and they had 1 son. The house that had once been so empty was now constantly filled with grandchildren, noise, and laughter. On Christmas Eve of 1903, 20 years after Amelia and Lucy had first arrived in Colfax, the entire family gathered for a celebration. 3 generations filled the house, and Amelia looked around at all these people who existed because she had been desperate enough to answer an advertisement for a mail-order bride. Russell found her standing in the doorway, watching the chaos with tears in her eyes. "What is wrong?" he asked, concerned. "Nothing is wrong. Everything is right." She gestured at the scene before them. "Look at this, Russell. Look at what we made. Not just our children, but their children, this whole family. 20 years ago, I thought my life was over. I thought Lucy would die and I would be alone. But you saved us, and this is the result." Russell pulled her close. "We saved each other. Never forget that. I never will." That night, after everyone had gone to bed, Amelia and Russell took a walk through the snowy streets of Colfax, just as they had done so many times over the years. The town had grown, but it was still their town, the place where their love had begun. "You ever think about that first night?" Amelia asked. "On the train when you examined Lucy?" "I think about it often. I remember how frightened you were, how sick Lucy was. I remember deciding to help you and having no idea it would change my entire life. If you could go back and do it differently, would you?" "Not for anything in the world. That night was the beginning of everything good in my life." Russell stopped walking and turned to face her. "You are the best thing that ever happened to me, Amelia Quinn. You and our family. I have no regrets, only gratitude." Amelia kissed him, there in the snowy street, 2 people no longer young but still deeply in love. "I have no regrets either, only joy that we found each other." They walked home hand in hand, leaving tracks in the fresh snow. The house was dark except for the soft glow of lamplight in the windows. Inside, their children and grandchildren slept safely, dreaming of Christmas morning. This was their legacy. Not just the children they had raised, but the love they had built from 2 broken hearts. A love that had started on a Christmas train with a sick child and a cowboy doctor, and had grown into something lasting and true. As they climbed into bed that night, Russell pulled Amelia close and whispered, "Thank you for getting on that train. Thank you for coming to Colfax. Thank you for taking a chance on a marriage to a stranger. Thank you for healing my daughter. Thank you for loving me. Thank you for this life. Always, my love. Always." They fell asleep in each other's arms as they had done for 20 years and would do for many more. Outside, Snow continued to fall on Colfax, New Mexico territory, covering everything in peaceful white. And inside a warm house on the edge of town, a family slept, secure in the knowledge that they were loved. The years rolled on gently. Russell and Amelia grew older together, their hair turning white, their steps slower, but their love never diminishing. They celebrated anniversaries and birthdays, holidays and ordinary days. They watched grandchildren grow into young adults and start families of their own. In 1910, at 64, Russell fell ill with pneumonia. Amelia nursed him through it, just as he had once nursed Lucy, and he recovered. But the illness weakened him, and he was never quite the same afterward. He walked with a cane and tired easily. "I am getting old," he said one day, frustrated by his limitations. "We both are," Amelia replied. "But we are getting old together, and that is what matters." They spent their days quietly now, reading together, taking short walks, visiting with children and grandchildren. Russell would tell stories about his early years as a frontier doctor, and Amelia would add details he forgot. They were each other's memory, each other's strength. In the summer of 1915, they celebrated their 30th wedding anniversary. Lucy came from Santa Fe, Noel from his ranch, Margaret from her home in town. The grandchildren, now grown, brought their own children. 4 generations gathered to honor the couple who had started it all. "Tell us the story," one of the great-grandchildren begged, "about how you met." So Amelia and Russell told it once more, the tale of a Christmas train and a sick child and a cowboy doctor who had healed them both. The children listened with wide eyes, and the adults smiled, having heard the story many times but never tiring of it. "And they lived happily ever after," the great-grandchild said when they finished. "Yes," Amelia agreed. "We did. We are." Russell squeezed her hand and she squeezed back, a lifetime of understanding in that simple gesture. As autumn came and the leaves turned gold, Russell's health declined further. He developed a cough that would not go away, and by October he was spending most of his days in bed. Lucy came to stay, bringing her medical expertise, but they all knew there was only so much that could be done. On a clear morning in early November, Russell woke and asked for the family to be gathered. They came quickly, filling the bedroom with love and faces. Russell looked at each of them in turn, his gray eyes still sharp despite his frail body. "I want you all to know," he said, his voice weak but clear, "that I have had a good life, better than I ever expected or deserved. I lost my first family and I thought that was the end. But then I found Amelia and Lucy, and you all came from that. You are my legacy, my joy, my greatest accomplishment." He turned to Amelia, who sat beside him holding his hand. "And you, my love, you were my second chance. You gave me everything. Thank you for 32 years of happiness." 32 years was not enough, Amelia said, tears streaming down her face. "I wanted 50, remember? You promised me 50. I know. I am sorry I could not keep that promise." Russell smiled gently. "But the years we had were full. Not many people get to love twice in one lifetime as deeply as I have loved. I am grateful." Lucy was crying now, and Noel and Margaret. The grandchildren and great-grandchildren stood silent, bearing witness to this farewell. Russell closed his eyes, still holding Amelia's hand. "I love you all. Be good to each other." Those were his last words. His breathing grew shallow, then stopped. And just like that, Russell Quinn was gone. The town of Colfax mourned him. The funeral was the largest anyone could remember, with people coming from all over the territory to pay their respects. Russell had delivered half the babies in town, had set broken bones and cured fevers and saved lives for 30 years. He was beloved, and his loss was deeply felt. Amelia bore her grief with the same strength she had shown throughout her life. She missed Russell terribly, missed his steady presence, his quiet humor, his arms around her at night. But she had their children and grandchildren to comfort her, and she had the memories of their life together. She lived on in the house they had shared, surrounded by family. Lucy visited often, as did Noel and Margaret. The great-grandchildren would come and ask her to tell stories about their great-grandfather, and she would oblige, keeping his memory alive. On Christmas Eve of 1920, 37 years after she had first arrived in Colfax, Amelia Quinn passed away peacefully in her sleep. She was 63 years old and had lived a full, rich life. She was buried beside Russell, their graves marked with simple headstones that read, Russell Quinn, M.D. 1856-1915, beloved husband, father, healer Amelia Barrett Quinn, 1857-1920, beloved wife, mother, companion. Their children made sure their story was preserved, writing it down so future generations would know how their family had begun. The tale of the mail-order bride who came with a sick child on a Christmas train, and the cowboy doctor who healed them and lost his heart, became a family legend, passed down through the years. Lucy continued practicing medicine until she was 70, a pioneer for women in her field. Noel's ranch prospered and was passed down to his children. Margaret taught for 40 years, shaping young minds. The house where Russell and Amelia had built their life remained in the family for generations. And every Christmas Eve, their descendants would gather there and tell the story of how it all began. With a desperate mother, a dying child, a winter storm, and a doctor who had enough love in his heart to save them all. It was a story of second chances and unexpected love, of healing and hope, of building a life from broken pieces. It was the story of Russell and Amelia Quinn, and it lived on long after they were gone, a testament to the power of compassion and the enduring strength of love. And though they were gone, the legacy they had built together continued to grow and flourish, touching lives and shaping futures. The love they had shared on that first Christmas Eve in Colfax, New Mexico territory, in 1883, had created something that would last forever. Their story had a happy ending after all, not because their lives were perfect, but because they had faced challenges together and built something beautiful from hardship. They had loved deeply, raised their family well, and left the world better than they found it. That was the true happily ever after, not a fairy tale, but a real life lived with courage, compassion, and love. And it all began on a Christmas train with a sick child and a doctor who decided to help, never knowing he was about to find the greatest gift of all.